Good afternoon and welcome to ALEC TV. I am County Commissioner Andre Cushing from the great state of Maine, and it's my pleasure today to be with Dekalb County Commissioner Nancy Jester. Welcome, Nancy.
Thank you. It's so great to be here. Thank you for having me.
We're delighted that you're here, and we want to talk a little bit about auditing and procurement, and you are the chairman of the Dekalb County FAB Committee.
FAB Committee, that's correct.
And that is finance,
yes,
audit,
yes,
and budget.
correct.
So
all the money.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about what you do in the procurement process in your county.
Thank you. This is actually a big area where we've done a lot of reform in DeKalb County and things I'm very proud of. We have changed really the function of this committee since the time I've been a county commissioner. Before, it was kind of just a place where procurement went to be to die or get held up, and I don't think folks really understood the proper operation of that, which goes to educating commissioners, which is what's really great about ALEC and ACE, being able to educate new local elected officials on important things. So I have a financial background, so I was able to sort of right the ship on that committee when I came in. When I came in, first of all, we got no monthly financial reports from the county government itself. So we instituted financial reporting on a monthly basis that we review and check and ask questions on because you're not going to meet the expectations of a budget. It will just be a suggestion if you're not inspecting it every month. So we do that. Audit and budget. So we use our audit portion of that committee to drive reforms in procurement. And what I mean by that is one of the things I think helps local and probably statewide elected officials is the Office of Independent Internal Auditors. So I really want to share with my fellow elected officials that if you don't have an independent auditor, think about getting one and think about how they can drive reforms in your procurement process. So DeKalb County is a large metro county in the metro Atlanta area, and so we do a lot of procurement, particularly with infrastructure projects in public works. We have a lot of water sewer work we're doing. So we have a policy now in our public works committee, which I also sit on, that we will do a process audit of every procurement $3 million and over. And what has that done for us? It has driven savings for the taxpayer in tens of millions of dollars in just a year alone. So we do these audit reviews, these independent internal audit reviews that go through the process and say, well, did we use the right procurement method? Because you may not know, there's all kinds of different procurement methods you can use to figure out who's going to get the work at the county level to do these water and sewer projects. And the different methods are going to have different outcomes for the taxpayer. Some are more advantageous than others, and every procurement is different. Some things need an RFP, some things need a low bid, some things may be RFQ, or maybe indeed there is a sole source and there's a justification for a sole source, but there's all these different tools. But as an elected official, you may not be familiar with them, but your independent internal auditor is. And so they can look at these different types of tools, understand whether you use the right one, and then whether processes were followed and you really did get the low bid you think you got. And did everybody check their boxes? Did they cross their T's and dot their I's? Did the numbers add up? You would be amazed in large institutions when things just don't add right or when mistakes were made, not from a nefarious standpoint, but just because there's human error involved. And
we had that in our school budget one year. The calculations in the formula didn't add up properly, and they voted on the wrong number for the school budget.
And that can just metastasize, and you can have real problems and implications, particularly in procurement, because you could have fraudulent things come up for sure. You could have bid protests where companies then come in and say, look, you didn't do this right and we're going to sue you, so then you can get into some legal ramifications. So audit drives really great compliance with law and with best practices. And we have used this tool in my county with great success, and particularly with our public works procurements, and we have saved easily close to $60 to $90 million this year alone in what we've done with our process audits on procurement issues. So I'm very proud of that reform, and I think that's one of the things that a group like ACE gets to share with I get to share that with my other elected officials here, my
That's
local
great.
elected officials. Yeah,
Well,
it's wonderful.
that I think is one of the things, when I served on the ALEC board and as a legislator, the relationships and the knowledge that I gleaned from listening to my colleagues at these events and being able to call them up on the phone and
Yes.
ask for their input was just invaluable. You know, at the local or county level, you sometimes don't have that sphere of influence that I found as a legislator. And I wonder, to you, as a county commissioner, you've been at it for a few years now, what's the important message you'd want colleagues to hear about their role as a county official or elected official, and what you think this organization could offer them in development and resources?
Well, I think, first of all, the cross-pollination is so important, and you're going to interact with folks not just from your same state, which that's helpful in your state to cross-pollinate with your other elected officials, but within any given ecosystem, local and then state, there are some sort of norms and processes that everyone takes for granted that may not be the best or the best you can do. So when you start opening and broadening it out and speaking with your colleagues across the nation, you really learn different things, different perspectives, some of which will apply, some won't, but it broadens your perspective, and you can ask the questions when you go back now, because you've just been exposed to a whole other set of assumptions. And so that is very helpful. So I know that that has benefited me, and I'm seeing that with my first conference here with ACE, getting to talk to folks from South Dakota and Sacramento and Colorado and Virginia just yesterday. So it was really wonderful, and I hope that they've taken away some things that I've said as well, and the dialogue has been invaluable. So this group is very much needed.
Super. So this is your first
It is.
American City and County Exchange Conference.
It is.
What was the one point that kind of really struck you as you've gone through the last couple of days here?
Well, really, we were actually had various dialogues about some career and technical education in one class, and how to use the resources of local government to drive to really collaborate with school systems and local government on career and technical education. That's near and dear to my heart. I used to sit on a school board, so that was fascinating, and listening to some folks that have had successes in their communities, that was helpful. And then we talked about some procurement issues that folks were facing, and how sometimes the way you draft your procurement scope is important, and that was another thing. We dialogued about, hey, make sure you're asking these sets of questions to the bureaucracy that is scoping out the very procurement, because that can be a limiting factor itself in who's going to compete for this particular procurement. So that was a very interesting dialogue I had with folks that are dealing with the same issues that I deal with on various scales, some large, some small. But so I really enjoyed that. Great camaraderie, a wonderful, wonderful day yesterday for me.
That's wonderful. So you shared with me earlier a little bit about the history of how you got engaged in politics, and I think I'm always fascinated finding out what has kind of drawn people into public service. I'm sure some of the folks watching us here would be delighted to hear briefly about what the kind of touchstone issue was that started you down the course, and how you ultimately got to where you are now as a county commissioner.
Well, thank you for asking that question. I think it's kind of humorous. It makes me laugh when I look back, because I call myself the accidental politician. I had worked as an actuarial consultant for many years, and then I started my family. I have 3 children who are now 16, 14, and 12. They don't remember me being unelected, though, which is kind of funny, because about 10 years ago I started. And what happened was I got mad about something with the schools, and I was just beside myself, and I thought, well, there's this thing called a school board. Let me look at it. And at the time, I looked at the school board. Not one person on our school board had a kid in the school. So I thought that was wrong, and I thought I should remedy that. I'll run for school board. And so I did. So I ran for the Board of Education, and I was the dog that caught the car. And I was elected and served on the school board for a while before there was a vacancy on the county commission, and some folks suggested that it might be a good fit for me. So I did run for that, and I've been serving on the Dekalb Commission since that point in time. But I think it's an important lesson that I was a stay-at-home mom, and that voice was missing from our school board. And if you can go.
But you're
from,
also a professional woman,
I
too.
was,
Yeah.
right. Worked as a actuarial consultant for many years, and and I was able to bring those skills. I bring the
Absolutely.
financial acumen
Sure.
into the elected arena, and that's what's great. You get to mix with all kinds of different folks from different professional backgrounds, planners, activists, sociologists, and and me. So I think a great board, a great commission has some of all of these perspectives on it. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you have more monolithic sort of folks, but everybody can have a seat at the table, and everybody should ask for the seat at the table and should run for office from all kinds of backgrounds, because it takes that kind of cross-pollination, I think, to really benefit a community and provide all the perspectives. So for all those stay-at-home moms out there, think about your political career. You too could be a county commissioner, and really should be.
And
So
in
it's
the
great.
21st century, any stay-at-home dad.
Any stay-at-home dad,
There
that's
you go.
right, absolutely. I support that 100%. So that's a little bit about my journey. And if you ask my kids, it's so funny, they say, "What's your dad do?" Somebody will ask them, "What does your dad do?" And they used to say, "Well, my dad goes to work. He's a computer guy, so he goes to work." "What's your mom do?" "She goes to meetings." So that was, for years and years, my job was mom goes to meetings.
Sure.
So.
Well, thank you for your service. Thanks for taking
Thank
some
you.
time to talk to us here today. We have County Commissioner Nancy Jester, and you're obviously making a difference in Georgia, so we appreciate and thank you for that.
Thank you, it's my pleasure. Thank
right.
you. Thank you.
Great.